Meeting to order, and we're going to move down to approval of agenda. We do have a couple of changes that I'm going to read out. Consent agenda revision to item 8.25, request to approve the renewal of the charter between the School Board of Okaloosa County and Liza Jackson Preparatory School, and request to advertise for a public hearing to be held on March 9th, 2020. A revision to hold the public hearing on April 13th, 2020 is recommended for approval. Added item 8.29, request for 12-month instructional unit allocation for Fort Walton Beach High School. To the discussion agenda, we've added item 10.2, proclamation of Career and Technical Education Month in Florida, presented by the Superintendent, and added item 10.3, HQ 0034-20-S-F01, Grant Opportunity National Defense Education Program, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math Education, Outreach, and Workforce Initiative Programs, Fiscal Year 2020, Department of Defense grant, which will be presented by April Branscombe. And with that, I'll need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move we approve the agenda as amended.
A second.
Okay. Dr. White with a second. Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in agreement? And a motion carries 5-0. So we're going to start with recognitions, and Mr. Chambers, we're going to let you start it off.
All right, good evening. Good evening. So one of the things that's beautiful about our county is I think we know the community partners that we have. You know, those relationships make a difference in what we do each and every day. And when we talk about volunteers and the time that they give of their own energy, their own effort to make a difference in our schools, you know, this is something that we all very much appreciate. And we are fortunate to have an award ceremony, so to speak, in terms of volunteers in different categories, in terms of a senior category, in terms of a volunteer of the year, and in terms of youth, those who volunteer and give their time and efforts and service. And I'm going to kind of read a little bit about this Outstanding School Volunteer Award, just so we're all on the same page in terms of what this represents. The Outstanding School Volunteer Award is presented annually to school volunteers who have shown outstanding dedication and commitment to quality education in Florida. Volunteers are selected based on the following criteria: type of contribution, character of service, number of years, and breadth of service. The Outstanding School Volunteer Award recognizes a youth, an adult, and a senior volunteer in each district, and then these winners move on to a regional competition. The state regional winners will be announced in April or May, and of course we're very hopeful and confident that our Volunteers of the Year will do very well at the state level. And I'm going to start with Mary Wright. I'm going to read us a little bit of information about Mary, and Dr. Kelly, if you would, when you feel comfortable coming forward, come forward and join me. Miss Wright has been actively involved in volunteering for the last 10 years, beginning with an idea to provide kindness through her church to school-age children of single mothers. She initiated a tutoring program which benefits students in the primary grades. The program has since expanded to include any student in need of the service, no questions asked. The program is for students in kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, encompassing tutoring in the area of math and language arts. They work on building core competencies, phonemic awareness, comprehension, vocabulary, and sight word recognition, helping students achieve the required grade level standards and maintain pace with the current curriculum. Ms. Wright has single-handedly organized and maintained and facilitated the program, ensuring sufficient tutors for each child. Tutors are recruited by her through the church congregation, making sure there is a just right fit between tutor and student. Ms. Wright will overwhelm herself by taking on more students before allowing any student to go without service. Additionally, her program improves social skills, manners, and promotes a positive connection with the students and parents. Ms. Wright is very deserving of the Outstanding Senior Volunteer Award. She exemplifies the perfect example of what a volunteer should be, and we are blessed beyond measure to have her as a member of the EDGE family. And we recognize her, and Dr. Kelly, and if Dr. Dawson will come forward, and Ms. Wright, if you would come forward as well. acknowledge you in a second. And this is also a plaque. And on behalf of myself and our school board members, we extend our warmest congratulations and highest esteem to Mary Wright on her outstanding accomplishment of being named Okaloosa County's 2020 Senior Volunteer of the Year Award. Congratulations, ma'am. Before we do that, you two may have some words as well.
May I? I'm Samantha Dawson. I'm the principal at Edge. We are so very fortunate and grateful to have Mary Wright working with our students. She does the tutoring, as Mr. Chambers explained, but she always makes sure they have snacks and school supplies, and at the holidays that every family in her care is taken care of. Her ministry extends well beyond the tutoring. She is faith in action, and we're so glad she makes her contribution at Edge.
And also just thank you to the Edge family. You guys are here in full force, so appreciate that.
Lots of tutoring. Lots of tutoring.
And all of her tutoring team. Will y'all wave?
Yeah.
Good. All of her friends.
Thank you again, appreciate it. You tell me which one is next.
What's that?
Which one is next?
The Eagleette dance team.
Should be another volunteer.
Other volunteers.
Oh,
The adult.
it doesn't say.
All right.
Adult one.
And next, we are going to move to our second Volunteer of the Year award. And this is for the Adult Volunteer of the Year, and from Choctawhatchee High School. Miss Alicia Williams works as a volunteer that assists our attendance office, as well as overseeing nearly all facets of the FIC process. And those of us who in education, we know that that is a huge undertaking and an important task. As a new AP, I have had to learn and lean on Alicia for assistance and guidance regarding FIC and protocol for collection and distribution, as well as attendance procedures that have worked well and how to best approach some of those issues. Alicia is extremely knowledgeable and experienced with all things attendance, FIC, and AS400. I personally have needed her support and assistance many times over, and she has been there with an answer or has taken the time to find the correct answer. Ms. Williams has built many relationships in the past with many of our students through middle school and even since their time here, so she has been able to continue to build on those relationships to not only stay on kids about getting their FIC turned in, but to also check on their well-being, academics, sports, and much, much more. We have some students who struggle to get here on time, and many of those same kids now go out of their way to swing by and say hi to her and let her know that they are here, which very clearly impacts academics. The relationships she has built and continues to build with our students, in addition to her friendly and enthusiastic personality, have directly impacted numerous students and staff members alike. Miss Alicia is regularly here by 8 a.m. and oftentimes stays as late as 3 or 3:30 to work on FIC, putting information in teachers' boxes, and even assisting with attendance cleanup. The fact that all of these efforts and hours are completely volunteered is nothing short of amazing. Ms. Heck, that's a lot, right? All right. Currently, Alicia volunteers between 20 and 40 hours a week regularly, in addition to the many other things that she has going on in her life. Here at Choctaw, Miss Alicia has really become a go-to person for many of the staff, and especially for me and our students who love her. So that is Miss Alicia Williams, and if she would come forward, Dr. White, if you would come forward, and Miss Heck, if you would come forward. Dr. White. Congratulations. So we're going to read this plaque as well. So on behalf of myself and the school board, we extend our warmest congratulations and highest esteem to Alicia Williams on her outstanding accomplishment of being named Okaloosa County's 2020 Adult Volunteer of the Year. And congratulations once again. This is for you.
I just want to start by saying Alicia is part of our Big Green Engine family, and she's been part of our family for many years. You don't need to be a hired employee or staff to be a part of our family. Mr. Lamfer is a new assistant principal. I once was in his shoes as a new assistant principal, and everything he wrote in that nomination package is exactly how I felt as a new assistant principal. I leaned on Alicia, who's been a member of our team for years and years, to help me and Mr. Lamfer, and frankly everyone that works in our front office, how systems work, how procedures are handled. We learned from her it is not the other way around. Something that also was not mentioned is she works probably just as many hours across the street at Pryor Middle School. So her life is dedicated to volunteering in our schools. She's also a mom of a student who's in our school system. She gives and gives to Okaloosa County School District, and we are grateful for her. Her relationships with our kids, once they're at Pryor, they come to Choctaw. She is a familiar face, and Mr. Lamfer's right. They come by to see her, to say, I'm doing okay, and that she's always checking on them, and we're grateful to have you. We are indebted to you, and from two administrators who lean heavily on you. Thank you very much.
All right, and this next one is something that I know we're all excited about because it's a Volunteer of the Year for Youth. And I'm going to read this about Lindsay Laborde. According to the National Center for Family Homelessness, a staggering 2.5 million children are homeless across the United States. In 2018, a Category 5 hurricane made landfall in a city less than 50 miles from us, impacting thousands of families. Even though we were not directly hit, we felt the impact of the disaster economically, educationally, and physically. Students and families were transitioning into our schools and community with just the clothing that they had in their suitcase. There are more than 350 homeless students in Okaloosa County and 24 at Fort Walton Beach High School. Miss Lindsay Laborde, a senior at Fort Walton Beach High School, saw a need to help the less fortunate students by making sure they had food. Lindsay created the pantry to help students and families struggling with hunger or uncertainty by providing an opportunity to obtain food at no cost. This project opened the doors for the community to donate items for the pantry, so all stakeholders partnered to help these families. The mission statement for the program is to enhance the learning environment by eliminating students' worries of where their next meal will come from. The pantry is solely donation-based, accepting most non-perishable canned goods. The program takes monetary donations, but the money can only be used to purchase perishable food items for the program. Lindsay has 218 hours of community service, a 4.72 grade point average, and ensures that our students and their families are taken care of each week. Donations are accepted daily in the guidance office, and volunteers can register through fwbhsfoodbank@gmail.com. Lindsay's school counselor is the administrator that assists with the logistical requirements to ensure all school policies are followed. Volunteers work during pre-approved school hours, so confidentiality is respected. Marketing of the project is done through school announcements, the Viking Voice newsletter, Facebook, Twitter, posters, classrooms, morning announcements, and so much more. The smallest things that are donated can be the biggest gift to these students and their families. The pantry has impacted the lives of our homeless students and inspired our community to be part of a program that will allow children to learn because they are fed. And if that doesn't make you feel good about the caliber of students that we have here in Okaloosa County, I don't know what will. And Mr. Destin, if you'd come forward, Mr. Spolsky, and staff, if you'd come forward as we recognize Miss Lindsay Laborde. And a 4.72 GPA.
It's a 476 now.
Oh, sorry.
Get that right, guys.
That's what happens.
Keeping up.
Get it down.
So we're going to honor you with this plaque here. And on behalf of myself and the school board, we extend our warmest congratulations and highest esteem to Lindsay on her outstanding accomplishment of being named Okaloosa County's 2020 Student Volunteer of the Year. And I'm sure your principal will have some words as well. So there you go.
She usually stands up on a ladder and leads our band in front of this many people with conducting. She's an amazing young woman. She gets those traits from both her mother and her father that are here tonight, Scott, and we thank the family so much. She makes everyone happy at school. She carves out her time from her academics and from the time-consuming band practices to make sure that everyone is fed. We open our refrigerators at home. We have cartons of milk and cartons of juice. And she came into my office and she said, hey, Mr. Spolsky, what can we do to ramp this up? We've got a lot of folks that need things. And she's just an absolutely fine young woman who I'm proud to see and walk. I'm going to miss her when she graduates, but I know she'll go off and make us very proud. And I think she has a story and will compete very well at the next level. So I'm very proud of her.
And I can't imagine doing what you've done at your age. It's tremendous, and food is one of the most important things in the world. Without that, you can't do much else. So that's great.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chambers. So ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we have public hearing that's scheduled for 6:15. So right now, I'm going to recess our regular meeting, and we're going to go into public hearing. So school board members, if you would scroll down to 17.1. And 17.1 is public hearing for adoption of revised school board policy 04-33, violent crimes, possession or use of tobacco products, alcoholic beverages, drugs, weapons, or firearms. And this is presented by Brian Humphrey, Specialist of Discipline and Athletics, and recommended by the superintendent for approval. Is there anybody in the audience that would wish to speak on this particular item? Hearing none, I need a motion to approve the adoption.
So moved.
Mr. Destin?
I'll second.
Second, Dr. Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. And the motion carries 5-0. 17.2, public hearing for the adoption of a revised job description for athletic director, presented by Dr. Lee Hale, Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources, and recommended by the superintendent for approval. Is there anybody in the audience that wish to speak about item 17.2? Seeing none, I need a motion to approve.
I'll move we approve, Chairman.
Mr. Destin with the motion.
I second.
Second, Ms. Evancheck. Any discussion?
Yes, I wanted to point out one thing that I spoke with Dr. Hale about, just for public information. Typically, an administrator, which this comes under administrative thing, would need the specific certification in administration. But because of the nature of this position as an athletic director, while the person needs a master's degree, it does not have to specifically be in administration. Just want to clarify that, so it opens up that avenue for more people to potentially apply for that position. So just want to point that out.
Thank you, Ms. Vancheck. Any other discussion, board members? Okay, hearing none, let's vote. Motion carries 5-0. 17.3, public hearing for adoption of a new job description for head football coach presented by Dr. Lee Hale, Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources, and recommended by the superintendent for approval. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak regarding 17.3? Seeing none, I need a motion to approve this adoption.
I'll approve. Motion to approve this one, Chairman.
Mr. Destin with the motion.
I'll second it.
Second, Ms. Vancheck. Any discussion?
Other than, as we can see, these two are related.
Yes.
And I want to congratulate the staff on coming to the conclusion that it would be better to split these two jobs up so that the athletic director could be a person with more expertise in the field, and it just would come out to be a better functionality, I believe.
Any other discussion? Okay. See, hear none, let's vote. And the motion carries 5-0. With that, we're going to close public hearing and go back to the general meeting. And Mr. Chambers, you're up. And Mr. Chambers, just real quick, after item 3.2 and 3.3, we will have a brief recess. So if everybody would stay seated after everybody gets their recognitions, we would appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. And so as we walked in, I was kind of wondering why we have so many people here today. And of course, we have something to really be proud of. And we have two great recognitions. And I always say this when we do this, you know, we are very fortunate in Okaloosa County to have athletes, dance team members, cheerleaders, and individuals who excel at a high level and excel to such a level where we're able to win state, whether that be as a team or whether that be as an individual. So I know that we are very proud to see, you know, lots of teams and individuals come forward, and it seems like we're always recognizing, and that's a great thing. And we're here to recognize two teams here this evening. And I will say I've learned not as much as I need to know about dance, but following on social media, I've learned some things. But I also know from my time at the school level, you know, how much time, energy, effort that each of you put into your craft, and it's no easy feat to do it all what you do. And you know the endurance that it takes, the time, the energy that it takes, and not many people can do what you do at the level that you do it. So I just know that that's something that is extremely, extremely proud. I know not only from coach, but also from the parents in terms of what they do. And I just realized I was talking to the cheerleaders, not the dance team. So, but I'll say that the cheerleaders were like, oh, so I appreciate that kindness, but once again, what you all do each and every day is absolutely outstanding. Some of the pictures that I saw and the flips and such that I saw just absolutely blew me away. Some of the parents were actually on social media messaging me as things were going on, saying, hey, I think we're about to win. Yep, we won. So I just know that Coach is proud. Young ladies, what you do is most people do not win a state title. Very small percentage, very small few do that. So relish this always. And I know, Mr. Morello, if you come forward, and I know you have some words. Dance team, coach, can you come forward? Come on, guys, come on.
All right, so Coach Kendall Creighton has brought several of these groups before the board for recognitions and accomplishments, both at Ruckle Middle School and at Niceville High School, and that speaks to the outstanding programs that she runs and the tremendous coach that she is. So congratulations again this year, Coach K. These young ladies do work tremendously hard at their craft, as Superintendent Chambers said. I have learned that the one question you do not ask an Eaglet dancer is, do you have practice today? Because the answer is yes. It's always yes, and most weekends it's yes as well. And that practice may be in the cafeteria, it may be in the gym, it may be in the football field, it may be on some small patch of grass that they find outside where no one is, where they have enough space to practice their routine. But what I really wanted to make a recognition and make aware of everyone tonight is, so these girls, not only are they at the top of their game in their craft, they cumulatively and collaboratively have a 4.14 grade point average as a team. So tremendous student athletes, tremendous citizens at our school, and there's only 2 seniors, so with this many underclassmen, we feel very good that the continued success of this program is inevitable. Superintendent Chambers, if I could go off script for 1 second, sir. I do have one student athlete dancer that I want to make a point about in particular, and I'll explain why. Jody Maselli, could you come here a second, please? Dance season. Jody's a senior and she's our captain of the squad. It's an interesting dance season in that Coach Cragen missed a significant amount of time giving birth to her second child. So with that, when we found out Coach was going to be gone, it was going to be in the fall. And in the fall, and the young man's getting held up right there. This is the fall. So this is, continued practice for competition stuff. This is pep rallies. This is pregame football routines. This is all the fundamental and technique work that they would do. So when she discovered she was going to be out, we talked about what we would do, and we found a long-term sub who was a retired teacher, so that was great. But all these girls have a 7th period dance class. So Coach Cragen told me that the sub is going to go to 7th period with the girls, but Jody's going to handle everything. Now, I know Jody very well. I had 0 concerns or no issues with that. I did think it was a lot of responsibility for a 17-year-old to take on. I'd say at least a handful of times I came in the back door of the gym or the cafeteria where these girls were practicing, and it was so impressive to see the maturity and the ownership that she took on taking on the responsibility of basically running this program while their coach was away. So I just wanted to make special mention that Jody Maselli went above and beyond this year for our dance team. Thank you.
Y'all come this way.
Jody Maselli.
Our other senior, Molly Burns. Kendall Foley. Michaela Jones. Avery Wright. London Taylor. Caroline Swannick. Noelle Crosby, who's sick. Kaylee Green. Libby Marion. Parker Leaf. Bailey Tate. Hardy Vance. Elizabeth McMahon. And Kaylee McGrath.
I think I have a plaque somewhere as well. Pass it. Here we go. Let's pass it. All right. And before I read this, Dr. Kelly, do you have any words as the board representative for Niceville High School?
I'll just say I know they practice awfully hard. I was never in dance, nor was my daughter, but she was in a lot of other things, and such as Winter Guard, and I know that they practice awfully hard. I know you earned every bit of this award with your own sweat and tears, and so I'm awfully proud of you. Beautiful girls, all of them. I told them when I walked through the hordes of girls back there, and I was just amazed at how beautiful they are. I mean, look at them. You can see the talent. They're just beautiful and talented, so awfully proud of them.
And Mr. Chambers, if you would allow me a personal, I don't know these fine ladies, but I congratulate you. But I know your coach. I've known her since she was the age of her son there, all her life. No one is more dedicated than Coach K at what she does. I've seen her grow up and do that. I saw her when she was a dancer as a child and in the high school. And you are so very lucky to have her. And I know that your success comes a lot from what your coach instills in you, right? Yes. So congratulations, Coach K. I'm proud of you.
So on behalf of myself and the school board, we extend our warmest congratulations and highest esteem to Niceville High School's dance team on their outstanding accomplishment of the 2020 State Champions Small Varsity Jazz Division. And congratulations.
Thank you.
And I believe before we do this, there's a parent or two who wants to come forward.
Hey, sorry, we won't waste too much of your time. So first of all, how cool is it to have these two teams recognized together, the cheerleading squad? Girls, you guys are incredible. I often judge how hard a sport is by whether or not it would break my spine. Both of these sports definitely accomplish that goal. So definitely from behalf of the dance team parents, great job cheerleaders. It's great to be recognized with you. Mr. Chambers, Mr. Morello, members of the board, thank you for allowing me to address the board on behalf of the Eaglettes parents. The accomplishments of this teams are noteworthy. 1 year removed from the best finish at nationals in school history with a majority freshman and sophomore squad. The Eaglettes stand before you today having set a new bar. These girls improved their final standings in both events this year, and for the first time in school history qualified straight through the finals in hip hop after their preliminary performance. By the metrics alone, this group of young women is the most accomplished team in school history. Their talent and dedication to their craft has enabled them to transition from a team that hopes to make finals in both events to a team that expects to compete with the best teams in the country. Thank you for recognizing their accomplishments in this formal setting. Thank you also for the opportunity to stand before you and recognize the contributions our coach makes to this team and the community. It's no surprise that Coach Kendall Cragen, in 2 years as the coach of the Niceville High School Eaglettes, has led her team to the 2 best finishes in school history. Her program is designed to make each kid the best dancer they can be, but it also teaches them principles that make them exceptional leaders in our community. Principles like hard work and discipline. Despite practicing 6 days a week, our girls are exceptional students, as Superintendent Chambers mentioned. Thanks for stealing my thunder. She teaches them grit. During nationals, our kids compete tired, injured, and overwhelmed, but they excel because Coach K has taught them to overcome when it gets tough. She emphasizes teamwork and leadership. She teaches the captain and the underclassmen to lead by example and care for the younger dancers. She also empowers them to own the program, clean routines, mentor others, and teach technique. She's taught them the value of standards and accountability. Her program has taught our kids to represent their school, teammates, families, and themselves well. The results are great. As fans, we love that our girls stand toe-to-toe with giants in this sport and hold their own. It's fun to be champions, right, girls? Yes, sir. As a parent, I'm more excited that our daughters are being prepared for life. It certainly takes a village to raise a child, and I'm grateful Coach K is willing to stand on the line with our families and teach our daughters skills they need to be successful. The least we can do as parents is recognize her publicly. So, Coach, on behalf of the Eaglettes parents, thank you for your hard work and dedication to the school team and most of all our kids.
Thank you.
So y'all do your thing for a picture really quickly. Yes.
I think their soccer team is in the finals too.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Dr. Kelly, you coming?
Just keep those together. Come on.
Congratulations, ladies. Great. All right. And now we have another state championship team with us, and this time I'm looking at the correct team from the start. And just want to say congratulations, once again during your road to the finals. Also had parents Facebook messaging and putting it out there, even a couple texts saying, hey, do you know what's going on? But I also want to go back to the hard work and effort that you put in. And I know Coach Tanya over there, I know that what you do for the girls makes a difference each and every day. And it takes that leader to go ahead and lead a team to get where they need to be. So I appreciate that. And also have the opportunity just to see, some of the hard work that cheer puts in. And those flips that you do when you'll toss, who's the person who gets tossed up in the air? Bless your heart. I've seen that. When you come, you're flipping, and you have to trust your team to catch you, and those who are the ones doing the throwing, the dancing, and the cheer. It's just amazing. When I was in school, there used to be the extending of the hands, maybe the leg went up a little bit, and now you guys are doing like quadruple flips throughout the air, and just absolutely amazing. Not only are you representing Niceville High School proudly, but you're representing Okaloosa County proudly. And we just thank you. We're going to recognize you. But before we do, we're going to do this one a little differently. So you guys are going to wait there. We'll call your name, and then you'll come from there. But first, I think Mr. Morello's going to have a few words.
Coach Tanya Herndon took over our cheer program just 3 years ago, and the improvement in skill and performance and what those girls do from what it might have been in just 3 years, it's incredible the amount of improvement that those kids have seen. And there is 0% chance that state championship would have been won without Coach Tanya's skill set, her expertise, and her coaching ability. Coach Tanya, thank you very much. So these young ladies, so this is a big group, and this is a fun group. And what you're probably looking at is the most athletic group of kids collectively of any of our sports teams at Niceville High School. When you see the level of athleticism in their stunts and tricks and jumps and flips, it will blow your mind, man. And Addie, Ellie, and Shelby are pound for pound stronger than any football player at Niceville High School. Cheer has only been a sanctioned FHSA sport since 2009. So in that short amount of time, to have already reached the pinnacle of achieving a state championship, that's an awesome accomplishment. So congratulations, girls. I thanks Mr. Chambers for humoring me on this one. Would the seniors just come forward real quickly? I get to sit my seniors down here really quick. So this is my 4th year at Niceville High School, so being their senior year, we came into this thing together, this group, and I'm not sure who was more scared that first day of school 4 years ago, me or them. But I'm a huge school spirit guy like Dr. Hale was when he was at Choctaw before, we think is now, maybe even too much sometimes. But that being said, we've done a lot of work together, myself and this group. Crazy ideas about pumping up school spirit, the lip sync skit at Rock the Docks, a lot of fun, and we've planned a lot of pep rallies, including this year. These guys talked me into finally having that night pep rally that I was wanting, and it was sick, right? Yeah. It was sick. But any coach who's ever won a state championship would tell you that it cannot be done without outstanding senior leadership. If you have unreliable, unmotivated seniors, you're going to have a really bad season. But what this group is, and what this group has done, they're the kind of people, and they're the reason that seniors why you win championships. And it has been just awesome getting to work with you guys, and it's been a great 4 years, and I'm going to miss you guys an awful lot. Thank you.
Coach Herndon, if you come forward. Coach Regan, come forward as well.
Okay, no problem. It's Rob Baby Cry over here. Maisie Armentrout. Oh, let me just say this. Maisie got, no, come forward, come forward. There's 30 of them, so if we can hold the applause till I'm done reading all 30 names, we might get out here a little quicker tonight. Josie Dickerson. Lexi Donaldson. They're alphabetical, so be ready. Alana Drab. I'm gonna go quick. Landry Fell. Kaya Floro.
Come on up.
Addie Grandy. Brianna Horn. Jabri. Gretchen Mueller. Justin Neely. Ellie O'Laughlin. Shelby Croft. Elizabeth Runyon. Skylar Sampson. Erica Scarborough. Aaron Scarborough. Rachel Wandrick. London Williams. Simone Williams. Brooke Zemak. Hannah Blanton. Nikki Davis. Madison Fuller. Colin Kate Henderson. Olivia Meyer. Maddie Roberts. Bianca Rodriguez. Avieva St. Saber. Emma Thompson. And Bella Watson. Last but not least.
There we go. Appreciate it. Stay right there. This is the squad right here. All right, Coach. On behalf of myself and the school board, we extend our warmest congratulations and highest esteem to the Niceville High School varsity cheer squad on their outstanding accomplishment as the 2020 state champions, Class 1A large varsity division. Congratulations.
Probably have to have some of them come around the front, so. So y'all come on in and fill up the front. Yeah, everybody's gonna have to kind of slide it a little bit.
Ms. Morella, they need to lay it out in front there.
Everybody, yeah, you're gonna have to, that'll be good. I'll get what I need and I'll get out of the way. All right, so everybody look right here. Just keep smiling. A couple. Okay, I'm gonna get out of the way so some parents can get pictures.
Thanks, guys. I thought it was
Okay, congratulations to everyone. We're going to recess this meeting for 3 minutes, so if those want to go ahead and leave and head to dinner, we're recessed.
Mr. Chambers, I will say as they're leaving that cheer was something I know about. I did
Getting back to order, and we're at item 4, we have no visitors. Item 5, administrative personnel appointments, we have none. And at this time, we have public comment. Item 6.1, and we do have a blue card. Mr. McInnes, if you would please go over the rules.
Yes, sir. You'll have 4 minutes to make your presentation to the board.
Okay. And Mr. McInnes is the official timekeeper as well. You will announce that 15 seconds before the 4 minutes. So at this time, we have Mr. Eddie Perillo. If you would please, sir, come to the front. Please state your name and address for the record, please. And you'll have 4 minutes.
My name's Eddie Perillo. I live at 119 Mooney Road, Fort Walton Beach. My concern was with the school district. On June 24th, 2019, the school board, per the recommendation of the HR director and the superintendent, hired an ESE program director. Approximately 6 days later, this director didn't have all her certifications throughout the state of Florida were expired, which means she can't be in that position. It wasn't until on the 18th I sent the board an email questioning this. Miraculously, a few days later, somewhere between the 18th and I believe the 24th, her certifications were reactivated. I just question how that happened so quickly, or how she was hired prior to, or knowing that there was only 6 days left in her certifications. And since June 30th, 2019 to at least February 18th, 2020, she had no certification throughout the state, per the state.
And I think that prior to your sending that email, I did meet with the superintendent, and we addressed that, so.
We did, yes, ma'am.
Anything else, Mr. Perillo?
Nope.
So, okay, where do we stand now, Mr. Superintendent?
So this particular employee is certified.
Okay, so at the time that we approved her as a board member, as the board, did she or did she not have certification?
She did.
Okay, but a few days later, the certification lapsed, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so why was the board not informed that was going to happen?
Dr. Hill, come forward.
Good evening, Board, Mr. Chambers.
Good evening.
So one of the things that I have found over the last 8 months that I've been here is that we have some different things that are new, and one of those things is the systems that you don't know are in place or are in place. And so one of the things that we had a shortcoming in was kind of the certification audit post-hire. Because our audit, our post-hiring procedures were only twice a year. In essence, what would happen is our certification analyst would pull certifications and provide notifications for people 6 months ahead of time. Well, within this window, this particular employee's name would not have appeared, and so it was unfortunate that it did lapse. And at the time that I did notify the board of the certification that this employee brought to the interview, it was current, but the expiration date was something that we hadn't considered prior to that, because when we vet for the interview process, that would be the last piece of it until afterwards, when the current employees would be vetted after that. So there was a hole in that time frame. Since this has come up, we are very excited to say that we've not only fixed that particular problem of notification at the hiring point, but also we've automated our system for notification of expiries coming up for existing employees as well. We've automated it, so it'll occur at various times along the certification window. So it was something that had never been addressed before. We were able to find this and address it. And the good news is that when we talked to the Florida Department of Education with regard to this situation, this was I don't want to say no big deal, but certainly not the first time that they had gone through some of this. In fact, the application has a 1 year late renewal window, to where if you renew within that time period, your your certification is retroactive to the day immediately following the expiry of the previous certification. So this particular employee's certification is current as of that day. So the certification reflects no break in service. And when we talked to the chancellor and also the bureau chief in charge of certification, they indicated that this was the standard procedure for when this happens.
So
And
if I could just interject, when
Sure.
I spoke with you and the superintendent, so two things that were important to me as a board member. One is that when an employee, or excuse me, when a candidate comes before us for an interview or before anyone, any committee for an interview, that that certificate be included as part of that so everyone can clearly see the expiration date. And it would have been my hope that particularly with this particular department being such under the microscope, that we would have taken that into account when those candidates were brought forward so that we wouldn't be in the situation we are now. I appreciate the conversation that you and I have had since then and that we've had since then. I sincerely do. But I would have hoped that in our district that we could have prevented being here at this moment in time in our history.
Right, and I do appreciate that, and I did appreciate the conversation with you as well. In fact, moving forward with administrative appointments, I'm actually going to do you one better. I'm going to attach the employee profile that has not only the certification information, but it will also indicate whether or not a renewal application has been opened at the time as well, which this particular employee had actually opened an application at that time, and then just, through the various life circumstances, it didn't happen. So it is a very good suggestion that I do intend to follow through on with regard to the notification of the board.
So this employee did not indicate to you or your staff that her certificate was close to being expired when you vetted?
So it was a paper vetting. So what the DOE has a profile, and it is on there. But when you're looking at the prior to today, when you were looking at the approval for the interview, are they eligible for interview? That is not a box that we commonly looked at, but that is a box that we will forevermore look at, because it does say when it expires, and it also has a box just below it that says if there's a renewal app opened as well. So that's a new piece of our vetting process that will occur.
And I'd
as a
add
result
one
of this.
thing, and the truth of the matter is, historically, there hasn't been a process for this. So the thing I appreciate is that this has been brought to light. Now Dr. White will ensure that the person up for certification, as soon as someone is hired.
Dr. White?
Sorry, Dr. White's he's a
He's
good
late, yeah.
a good person over there. Excuse me, Dr. Hale will ensure that once that person is hired, certification will also note the expiration date on a certificate, as well as going with a notification a year, 6 months, 3 months, 30 days out, and then expiration. And that email will be generated to Dr. Hale. It'll be generated to certification, and it'll be generated to the employee. So I do appreciate you bringing this to our attention. I do appreciate you as well.
Well,
I just
here's
have
another
just-
thing. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Vancheck, go ahead and finish.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Since you were questioning.
Thank you. One more point. Well, I was an educator in this district for many, many years with an active certificate. I still have an active teaching certificate. I know the entire time I was employed with this district that my administrator consistently told me and district staff that it was going to expire. No matter what happens, do not let your certificate go past that date, okay? So as a professional, I kept up with that. Even when I was retiring, I made sure I had all the things I needed to keep my certificate in force. So this employee, as a professional, even after being hired, should have indicated, or it's been 8 months, it's not been a month. We're talking it's been 8 months since this person's certificate on paper expired. Now, it's my understanding that the coursework was done, but professionally, it's like a kid who says, I did the homework, but I didn't turn it in. And I just think that it was unacceptable to have this come from our board without it being vetted that way, and that this employee, is my understanding, the employee didn't bring it to the attention. It was brought in another source, correct?
I heard it from senior staff.
Okay, so the employee didn't even come up and say, oh my gosh, I've let my certificate You know, so I think this looks not good for our board and for our district. And I'm glad to hear that something's in place. Is there any kind of reprimand going to happen?
I think that we cannot discuss any type of, that's superintendent business, that's not for board business.
But I have some
Go ahead,
material,
Dr. White.
Mr. Bryan, I'd like to pass around. And if each
Okay.
of you would take this is, and certainly I support all of the comments supporting certification and credentialing, because the technical truth is that's really the most important passport that as educators that we have. But what I've distributed there to you is actually the renewal form for folks to renew their certificates. And I would call your attention to the second box at the top, referring to a late renewal. And what this specifies is that an individual has up to 1 year to renew their expired certificate. And I think that's what has happened in this case. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And is this person fully credentialed and certified?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
But
White.
Dr. White, wouldn't you have liked to have known that when we were voting on this position?
I think the superintendent and Dr. Hale and Ms. Vanchek, if you heard clearly, I'll answer your question, is that they now have instituted a process to ensure that that occurs from now on.
I know, but I'm just saying, when this person was put before us to vote,
Well,
I would just say that there are probably a lot of things that have happened in the last 4 years that this school board would have liked to have been informed about when they occurred.
well, I agree with that, but I just think this could have been avoided, and, but I am glad that we now have some things in place. But I want it noted that this board was not known that that certificate was going to expire in 6 days, and that the person had the coursework and was going to apply, even though they had that year. That was not known to us when we took that vote on June, whatever the exact date was. I just want to know that that was not in front of this board. Thank you.
Chairman, if I may.
yes, sir, Mr. Destin.
I think we probably all have consulted with Dr. Hale and perhaps the superintendent. This is the kind of oversight that doesn't look good, but as Dr. White pointed out, there is remedy, and it was addressed in that manner. You know, in the restaurant business, all of our employees have to be certified, and I let Dr. Hale know we have an app that starts sending you emails immediately when it's getting close to the end. I don't know if we can find an app that applies to our thousands and thousands of folks that have certifications, but that would probably be a real smart thing to do. And I appreciate they got it straightened out, but it is something that we do not need to let happen. It does reflect poorly on all of us.
All right. Thank you.
Can I add one more thing?
How much time?
I mean,
All passed.
Okay.
okay,
But-
but he took my 4 minutes. I didn't take my 4
Okay, I'll give you
minutes.
1 minute.
Okay.
Out of courtesy, I'll give you 1 minute.
Well, it's fair. That's how I see it. Department of Education, per them, they said they send out employees that are certified through the state at least 6 months in advance, notifying them that their certification is going to expire. Once it expires, per them, they send the expiration that the people's certificate expired to the HR. I was certified in the state of Florida for 20-something years at FDLE. If something expired, my boss knew, which it never expired because they stayed on top of it, the state stayed on top of it, and if I got a notice, I took care of it because that was my living. I would have not been a cop anymore. Okay?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Burwell. Okay, so we're going to move down to item 7, and that's committee and staff report, and that was for the workshop. And now to consent agenda, item 8.1, approval of the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Destin?
I'll second.
Second, Dr. Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. Motion carries 5-0. So let's go down to section 9, superintendent's human resource recommendations. The first two are for just, there's no motions on these, so we'll go to item 9.3, payment to kindergarten, pre-kindergarten teachers presented by Dr. Lee Hale. We need a motion to approve.
I'll move.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion by Dr. Kelly, second by Ms. Vancheck. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. Motion carries 5-0. 9.4, employment separations. I need a motion to approve.
I'll move it.
Dr. White. makes-
Second.
Second, Mr. Destin. Any discussion? Hear none, let's vote. Motion carries 5-0. 9.5, personnel recommendations. Need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Destin with motion.
I'll second it.
Second, Dr. Kelly. Any discussion? Hear none, let's vote. Motion carries 5-0. 9.6, employee transfers. Need a motion to approve.
I'll move it.
Ms. Vancheck makes the motion.
Second.
Second, Mr. Destin. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, let's vote. Motion carries 5-0. 9.7, reinstatement, reimbursement of sick leave due to line of duty illness, injury, medical examination.
Also move.
Okay, Dr. Kelly.
Second.
Second, Mr. Destin. Any discussion? Hear none, let's vote. Motion carries 5-0. And 9.8, leave without pay. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Destin makes a motion.
I'll second it.
Second, Ms. Vancheck. Any discussion? Hear none, let's vote. Motion carries 5-0. So now we're going to move down to discussion item. We do have a couple of items on there. So item 10.2 is a proclamation of Career and Technical Education Month in Florida. Mr. Chambers?
All right, I appreciate it. So I think the board knows that I think the governor has decreed by the year 2030 that the state of Florida be #1 in the nation. And career and technical education, I think, is getting an even stronger emphasis, obviously not only in Okaloosa County, but across the state of Florida. And one of the whole goals to this is to ensure that there's a pipeline all the way from elementary to the workforce. And so we have a proclamation from the governor, and I'm going to read that proclamation. And it says, Career and Technical Education Month in Florida. Whereas Florida has a bold vision for a bright future, it is essential our children are provided with a strong foundation and a world-class education. And whereas the Florida Department of Education is committed to providing the highest standard of education in the nation. And whereas career and technical education contributes to America's leadership in the international marketplace and offers individuals lifelong opportunities to learn new skills, expanding career choices, and career satisfaction. And whereas in 2019, I issued Executive Order 1931, beginning the process to make Florida the #1 state in the nation for workforce education by 2030, ensuring Florida students are prepared to fill the high-demand, high-wage jobs of today and the future. And whereas expanding career opportunities for our students and increasing Florida's investment in career and technical education programs and apprenticeships is paramount to the success of our state. And whereas the Florida Pathways to Career Opportunities Grant Program provided grants to 36 institutions to create or expand apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship programs, and whereas Florida students have earned over 130,000 industry certifications and more than 61,000 digital tool certifications. And whereas Career and Technical Education Month in Florida is an opportunity to educate Floridians about the career opportunities available and ensure all students are able to acquire the knowledge and learn the skills needed to provide for their families. Now, therefore, I, Ron DeSantis, Governor of the state of Florida, do hereby extend greetings and best wishes to all observing February 2020 as Career and Technical Education Month in Florida.
Okay, school board members, we will need a motion to approve this adoption. So with that being said, I need a motion to approve.
I'll move it.
Motion. No, excuse me.
Okay, so Ms. Vancheck, and then
Second.
Dr. White will get the second. Any discussion? Okay, hear none, let's vote. And the motion carries 5-0. So now we're to 10.3, and this is a grant opportunity National Defense Education Program. Mr. Chambers?
Yes, and I thank you for your diligence today. So this was a grant opportunity that our CTE department was made aware of on Friday. It is a great opportunity for our students, and we did not want to miss out on this opportunity. There's approximately $3 million that could come to Okaloosa County for our middle school program, so we wanted to bring this before you And of course, April Branscombe is here if you have any specific questions.
We need a motion to approve this.
If I could,
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to say, how do we proceed? Is this a new agenda item as of today?
I believe it is.
Correct.
Yeah,
It
is a new
it is.
agenda item.
Right, it is.
All right. And that's all right.
Yes, sir, it was added earlier in your meeting, and there is a deadline that occurs prior to your next meeting, so that was good cause to add it to the agenda.
All right.
okay, so I would like to make this motion with the most supportive tone that I can make it. Thank you.
All right, so Dr. Kelly makes motion.
I will second that
Okay,
with
so-
with an almost as important. I did have one question. Any obligation for us to match anything on this, Ms. Branson?
Thank you for your patience with me today and getting this put out there for you. No, there is no match required for it. It'll be, right now, our grant is sitting at 1.9 million, and that's what we're looking to do, to bring in technology and curriculum and teacher training and competitions for our students, and that is all encompassing with that almost $2 million.
No. In that case, this is a very good grant.
It is
Right.
indeed.
Yeah, and we're going to continue looking for more. So, but I'll try to get them in. I will get them in before the deadline.
And we know that you do work hard.
Thank you
and we
very much. I
appreciate it.
appreciate that.
Well, I have just a couple of questions, since normally there would be a grant package attached, and it would have all the details and specifics that the school board would have had a chance to review prior to having this particular vote, as motioned by Dr. Kelly and Mr. Destin. And certainly I understand the desire and the need for additional funds. And I understand the fact that you were just notified about this grant. But in my case, I will reluctantly vote for this grant because I would have liked to have had the opportunity to have had more time
Yes.
to review the narrative and to review the entire grant package, which leads me to a couple of questions. Are there any personnel cost in this grant, or personnel cost to be paid for by the funds in this grant?
Yes, sir, there are. We have in our information that I sent to each of you individually, as well as it's on the agenda tonight, there is a grants manager, and it's someone that will manage this particular grant, that will be able to meet all the deadlines and the requirements and put all the documentation together that we will have to have in order to report on the things that we've spent, the
So
money that we've spent.
will that be a new position then?
Well, I would hope so, yes, sir. I hope that it is a position that not only will it help us with this grant, will also help us with grants in the future. Because that's one of the things as CTE that we feel like we're missing out on, is that we want to be able to apply for more grants, but we're limited as well as many other people are in the district with personnel. And so this will also help us get more grant funding for our programs and have someone that can support that and make sure that we're following all the guidelines that we're required to follow through the grant application.
All right.
And I would have, and I have to say respectfully, I'm sorry that I was only able to give you the abstract and the grant budget. That's all we have together. We have someone that's writing it for us, and as I said, we only found out about this Friday. Had we known about it before, we would not be in this
I
situation.
understand. And nor
it
would
is for-
I.
It is for 3 years.
Yes, sir,
as
it
I
is
saw
for
in the
3
budget.
years. Yes, ma'am, it is.
And
So
it-
the person, where you'd have to have the overseer, is that part of the grant? That's already funded? That's not additional money?
No, it's part of the
It's in the
grant.
And we don't have someone in our district who helps with grants?
Currently, no.
Okay,
In terms of a position, no.
right, yeah.
And just a couple more.
Yes, sir.
And so as I looked at the spreadsheet, and I'm grateful that you sent that, and that was something that I could look at before we voted tonight. There also appeared to be some travel here. Was there a conference or something?
Competition.
Competition.
It's student competition.
Okay, and so those are stipends, I'm assuming, that are being paid for employees that conduct those activities?
Yes, sir, there are teachers that are are teaching the curriculum during the day, but part of this will be, the teachers will be required to participate in, like the rocketry competition, and then and there's a couple other competitions that we're going to require them to participate in. And in order to require, we feel like we need to give them a stipend because it's after school and on Saturdays and a lot of extracurricular, co-curricular, extracurricular activities.
And the schools that are participating, I saw you had some schools listed and identified.
All middle schools.
All middle schools?
Yes, sir.
So no high schools are
No,
involved?
this particular grant is specifically middle school driven.
Okay, all right, that's helpful.
We do want to get some high school ones, though.
Right. All right. So those are really just the questions that I have now without having the entire narrative.
Yes,
And
sir.
I know that those are normally quite lengthy.
Yes.
Usually exceeding over 100 pages. But as it is, this is what we have, I guess.
Well, and we will share with you as soon as we finalize it and we get it to Ms. Scallon. We will definitely share it with you. We did run this by her this morning, so she has had a chance to look at it.
On the financial pieces. And I'm assuming on this position, the grant position, or the grant supervisor or manager, that will be a advertisement that will come before the school board at a later date, and I guess there would have to be a job description also approved that we haven't seen or constructed yet.
And of course, the recurrent theme there is not to burden the district with the cost of an employee past the 3-year deadline, so that in the interviews, that person would have to be notified heavily
Yes, ma'am.
not to expect employment past the grant period.
Absolutely.
Chairman, just so I understand, this is an approval to apply for the grant. We have not accepted a grant since we have not applied yet. So I would expect you'll have plenty of opportunity to provide the information Dr. Lamar is talking about.
Yes, sir.
And-
We should be notified in April. Whether
And this
we-
takes another motion to accept the grant, am I correct on that? Or once you've applied, that means we've accepted it?
Well, I think that.
Mr. McGinnis, you can answer.
Once you authorize the application, if the grant's awarded, then it would be received. Now,
So-
there may be follow-up actions by the board to implement portions of the grant, but in regard to just receiving the grant, yes, it would be received once you authorize it.
So after applying, we cannot say, oh, never mind, we found something out and we're not interested?
Some grants would offer an opportunity, I suppose, after you're selected to reject the grant. I can't tell you for sure in this situation.
And one thing I would say with this grant, and once again, appreciate the fact that we're taking the time to discuss this. Normally, we wouldn't be in this type of a situation where we'd have plenty of time to do this our customary way. But what we do have the ability to do with these grants is do budget amendments. So if we need to do a budget amendment throughout the course of this process, we'd be able to do that and bring that also back before the board.
Let me ask one further clarifying question. Back when we, several years ago, when we hired Mr. Kelly, I believe it was, he was supposed to be our grant application coordinator. When we lost Mr. Kelly, did we lose that position altogether? Or is it still in the budget? Can we fill it? Obviously, we need someone that's paying attention to these things so we can be a little farther ahead of the curve. What's the situation on that?
So I'd have to ask Rita in terms of, I believe back during that time, there was a position that may have been eliminated, but I'll defer to Rita on that.
The grant coordination or the piece that you're talking about, it was part of the duties of Mr. Kelly's position. It wasn't a separate position by itself. It was just part of some of the duties that were assigned to that position.
Okay, now, his position was contractual. Is it still in the budget at all?
No, his position was an employee position. Now,
Okay.
we did restructure and that position was eliminated.
Okay, that's what I
And
was trying
those
to get
do,
to.
yes, sir, and
We may have to restructure once again, because this is pretty important when you're talking about millions of dollars on these grants. We need to apply. There's another one that someone sent me an email about a couple of days ago that has to do with school security. I don't know if you guys have seen that one, but I will try to bring it to you tomorrow. But it was also for $1 million+. You know, we need to not let those slip through our fingers.
Well, and I would just say and offer that I know that the topic of grants, and those of you that have been around as long as I have will probably remember this, that on several occasions the school board has spoken and asked that before being asked to vote on a grant, that we have the entire package so that we can look at it and see and have questions, if we have any, or discussion about some of the components. And so I would just reiterate those conversations that have been held on multiple occasions, that be the case in the future, that not be asked to vote for a grant, basically vote on it before we've seen it. I understand we have a skeleton review, but we haven't seen the entire package.
And Dr. White, to be fair, I did ask some of those same questions in a phone conversation, but I do believe that $2 million is a lot not to try for, so that would be the reason that I'm supportive.
Well, I think that's the very reason all of us will reluctantly support it.
reluctant.
Right, I heard you, yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
we're going to have to get to the point where we have to cut our nose to spite our face
Exactly.
and refuse one of these.
Well,
all the time.
and from what I read in the budget, it appears that for 3 years, you would be buying computers, paying for professional development, and travel, and the stipend for the teachers, basically, and the grant position.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
those were the things that I gleaned from the spreadsheet, Dr. White.
Yes, ma'am, that's
So-
exactly right.
But what you're going to ask is for us to approve another position for the person to oversee the
If-
grant.
Yes, ma'am, if we get the grant, that would be our next step. would
So
be-
there's not enough money in there to cover that?
No, the position is being paid through the
Oh,
grant.
okay, gotcha.
So it would not cost the district
Okay, we
anything.
just have the position, but it'd be cost neutral for us as far as the
Yes,
grant.
ma'am. And I think it would be beneficial in the sense, too, that the person would be able to do this, but I would hope that there would be time for that person to
To
also
look
do
for-
some additional grant searching for us, for other grants, for different things.
If I recall correctly, to your two gentlemen's comments, I believe the grant oversight was wrapped up in the community affairs
It was.
position.
Yeah, it was.
And so,
So, but that's not the same today?
No, ma'am.
We don't have that position
That-
anymore, is my understanding.
Well, no, we have
we
community
just took
affairs.
the role
Changed
out
the
of it, I
descriptions.
think.
We do, yeah, we have community affairs, but just not, that duty's not one of them.
That duty is not one of the responsibilities of Ms. Gates.
Okay.
Yes, that position was eliminated in the restructure, and those duties were assigned to someone who already had a position and had duties, so they inherited those duties.
Well, that begs another question. I'll leave this one alone, but if that duty, I'm going to vote for it.
Any other discussion? We do have a motion and a second. Here, no other discussion, let's vote. And the motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Branscombe. All right, we'll move down to item 11, and that's the construction program. Mr. Destin?
Yes, sir, Chairman. Basically, the same things we went over at the workshop. We're working on roofs at Niceville, kitchens at Pryor and Baker, security measures all over. So I don't have anything new to report other than what we talked about at the workshop.
All right. Thank you, sir. So we'll move down to item 12, Information Technology Seat Management Contract, item 12.1, CACI Revised Task Order Number 2-142. And this is the mail meter archive to the cloud migration. And we need a motion to approve this.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay. Hearing none, let's vote. Motion carries 5-0. So now we move down to Mr. McInnes's business.
No report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And now to 14, we have out-of-state field trip request, and then Mr. Chambers, you have the floor.
I appreciate it. And board members, I just want to take a few moments to give you a capital needs update, and you may have some questions afterwards as well. As you know from previous board meeting discussions, district staff has been working closely with school principals and has been busy reviewing every school's capital needs in recent months with an eye on continuing growth trends in the county. At the next board meeting, we'll present information to you that I believe will make a compelling case that we must act now to address our capital needs if we hope to maintain our status as one of the top districts in the state of Florida. The information presented will highlight continuing needs in the area of safety and security to include not only single point of entry, but also the reduction and ultimately the elimination of portables used as student classrooms. The information presented will highlight where additional classroom space is needed to keep up with growth and include preliminary recommendations on how to accomplish this most effectively. The information presented will outline roofing, HVAC, site and technology infrastructure needs as well as those within our schools. The information presented will once again shine a light on our aging bus fleet. At this point, Okaloosa has no additional revenue sources outside of the capital outlay funding we receive from Tallahassee. No sales surtax, no additional voter-approved millage, no impact fees. Few, if any, districts could make that statement. Chairman Bryant, I would ask you to consider adding a meeting to the calendar for Monday, March 30. In the event the board, after reviewing this information on March 9th, is compelled to act on any matters, including the adoption of a resolution calling for a sales surtax. And if a resolution put forth by this board on March 30 that requests the placement of a half-cent sales surtax on November 3rd to 2020 general election ballot, it should, in my opinion, contain some rather specific language to address concerns that I have heard. It should require a citizens oversight committee made up of volunteers appointed by the school board whose responsibility will be to monitor the implementation of the district's capital plan and to advise the school board and the superintendent of schools on the expenditures in sale tax funds. It should also include specific language stating that neither the proceeds of a half-cent sales surtax nor any interest earned from the proceeds may be used for operational expenses whatsoever. This aligns with Florida statute on the matter, and I believe is of importance to our voters and the electorate. Thank you.
So do we need to make a motion to have a meeting for March 30th?
If you want to do that, that'd be correct to schedule that meeting. You need to vote on that.
Okay, all right.
What was the time?
Excuse me?
I'll make that motion, Chairman.
Okay.
March 30th.
Mr. Destin makes a motion. Do we have a second?
What time would that meeting be?
The time would be at 6 o'clock. It would be at 6 o'clock.
I'll make that part of the
Be
motion.
an evening meeting?
Be at 6 o'clock.
I'm showing that that's a Monday,
Yeah. So we'll do it.
March the 30th.
6 o'clock.
We
It is Monday.
don't, we don't have a board meeting.
That's correct. That's why,
Okay.
that's why I believe this is the
Spring
date
break
we're
right
picking.
before that.
Because we do only have one board meeting in March.
Correct.
Is there some thought about time for that meeting?
Ab-
Is
It
6
needs to
o'clock
be
a
evening for
time
me.
that, just out of curiosity?
So 6 o'clock would be a normal board meeting time. But Mr. Hort, if you'd come up and just kind of reiterate the thought process behind March 30 and the timeline that we have to follow to get it to the county commission.
Yes, sir, Mr. Superintendent. Board members, I think the guidelines and the request for that extra board meeting following spring break would be to ensure that if actions taken by this board, that we can hand off any such resolution to the county commissioners in April. I've been told that it's about a month for their process because they're the authorizing body. And then that brings us into May. And again, Okaloosa would be, I think, the first school district in the state of Florida to undergo a performance audit as required by state statute now for the half-cent surtax question. And so wanting to have all the parts and pieces completed prior to that in May would be important. That leads us to the request for that second meeting in March, if that makes sense.
Okay, performance audit. That's basically,
Yes, ma'am. It's not an analysis of the projects that are required, that are being asked for or sought for the district. It's more, and Ms. Scallon could speak to this some as well, it's more a requirement for an audit to come in and look at the systems that we have in place for our construction programs and all those sorts of pieces. So as we have Carr Riggs at Ingram come in from time to time and audit certain departments and systems, and we have the state come in for IT audits, it would be a performance audit, and the statute outlines specifically the things that they're looking at, and I can forward that information to school board members just so that they'll know.
yeah, I'd like to see that. what the-
There have been other municipalities. Santa Rosa County, I believe, underwent a performance audit prior to the last referendum they had, but to my knowledge, a school district has not yet. undergone a performance audit for.
So
they have
did you
set
say this
certain
is mandatory or this
It is
an option?
mandatory.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Not optional, it's mandatory.
Okay,
Maybe
okay. Wanna make sure.
the name is OPAGA, correct? This is what we're talking about, OPAGA.
OPAGA's who
I
we
have been through
notify
a few
that,
of those.
that we're interested in this referendum, and so once we notify them, they have 60 days by statute to, I believe, identify the firm that's going to come and do the audit.
Okay.
All right, and so I'm assuming that, should the motion pass, that you'll do all the advertising, take care of all that in terms of all those particulars. Okay.
And I think that's why you're bringing it today, because we do have to get proper public notice for this meeting and, make sure we have everything lined up correctly and legally, so.
Yes, sir.
So would that be a meeting where the public would have input? Or would that be?
It'll be a specially scheduled school board meeting open to the public.
Okay.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And then keeping in mind, on the 9th is when we'll provide you information that may or may not compel you to take action on the 30th, or direct the attorney or superintendent to come back with a resolution on the 30th.
Or
So-
modify
so-
action, I would suppose.
Or, excuse me?
Modify action?
Or modify action.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, so Mr. Dessen, you did make a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Dr. Kelly seconds. Okay, all those in favor, or any discussion? Any more discussion? Okay. All those in favor, let's vote. And the motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to move down to board members' announcements, and I'm going to start off because I just have one thing. So, board members, you did receive a confidential package regarding the Bruner Awards. So, if you would please, we're going to pass these down. Okay. And I am going to start with Dr. Kelly, since she was
Okay.
not here Thursday. But
Thank you, and I appreciate being able to listen to the tape. I just want to say congratulations to the Niceville High School men's soccer team. They're headed to state this weekend and have a very good chance of bringing back the trophy, so go Eagles. And congratulations to our STEM team. They won the state in the category of strategy and innovation, and they were second place in the state overall in their competition, and they received a bid to go to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, to compete internationally. So, and their coach is Sarah Wilson, so congratulations to them and their team. And just a reminder to our parents that our parent satisfaction survey is still open, so we encourage and solicit our parents to be sure and go online and take that parent satisfaction survey. We do want to hear from them. Their input is important to us. And I believe that's open through March the 12th, if I remember correctly. And just one request, could we, and I know we may have to do this in executive session, but could we get another update on where we are with pending lawsuits, as you did for us once before? Thank you so much. That's important to me. That's it. Thank you.
Ms. Vanchek?
Thank you. Yes. Also, there's some other schools. I know Choctaw's boys basketball team is playing in the regional playoffs tomorrow night in Tallahassee. Want to wish them a lot of luck. I hope I didn't throw your thunder there, Dr. White. But being an alum, three of us are going to say that. So, also, last time I mentioned it, I want to bring up again about the U.S. Census is coming up next month. And it's important for a lot of different things, not only in our community, but also for our schools, because a lot of different things are based on the information and the data out of that census. The other thing I'm very happy as the board member for Baker, last year I was able to assist them with putting up a new scoreboard for their girls softball. And so we didn't have it in time for that season, but the coach contacted me and they were able to turn it on the other night and get the lights going and everything. And so he said that he would like for me to come out for the opening of the game, which I was honored, until he said, and throw the first pitch. So I hope I don't make the news, because that means I've hurt somebody or somebody's property with my first pitch. And I hope the girls certainly win the game and I don't jinx them, but I will give it my best throw tomorrow night to open up the season for the Baker girls softball. So I'm happy to be with those ladies tomorrow night.
Well, the good thing is softball was underhand.
I
so
know,
there you
I
go.
know. You're right.
Dr. White.
Yeah, just a couple of things. I would like to extend my appreciation to Mr. Horton and Mrs. Scallon for providing the budget breakdown in terms of the actual expenses that the Okaloosa School District has in the course of a year in our roughly $400 million budget. I think that will be very helpful to us as we speak in various community forums regarding the half-cent sales tax. So thank you both for putting that together. And then the last thing I would say is this is for all kindergarten parents. We're doing registration at this time for the year 2021. And so if parents, if you would please visit your locally zoned school and get those kindergartners registered for school. I'll just say that having had to do kindergarten projections, they're very difficult. And so when parents go ahead and get their children registered, it makes it a lot smoother for the schools in terms of hiring teachers and making classrooms available and all the kinds of things that go into planning the new year. So kindergarten registration is open at this time. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Destin.
Chairman, I just want to thank Superintendent Chambers and Mr. Horton and the representatives of Jacob Titan for the work they're doing on coming up with these lists for 39 schools in the district itself. Extremely complex, and they're spending days and days doing it. So congratulate them.
Thank you.
And my comment about that also, I happened to be at Edwin's the other day, and the team from Jacob Titans was in there with Miss Boris going over all the blueprints, and just I love to see the collaboration that they had, and including the principal, and just laying out what all is going to happen. And it's amazing how fast they're going to put these projects together once school lets out. I mean, they got a tight time frame to get a lot of these projects done, so I would echo those sentiments also. Okay, so that being said, no other comments from our board members, so we are now at public comment 16.1. Is there anybody that would like to address the board? Okay, you got 2 minutes, and please state your name again and your address.
Eddie Perillo, I live at 119 Mooney Road, Fort Walton Beach. I was looking at the superintendent's business out-of-state student trip request. Does that go through y'all to get approved? Or does just the superintendent? Before I used to sit here and listen to y'all would have to approve out-of-state trips or out-of-county trips.
Their notification.
Yeah,
It's
this
not,
is
it's
no-
not a
We
vote
don't
on
vote
it.
on it.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I don't have it.
All right, thank you.
But, okay, never mind.
All right.
Superintendent basically approves those, correct?
Correct, through our staff.
That's superintendent approval, not board approval.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
And if you'll notice, it's always informational on that particular part. Okay, anybody else? All right, Ms. Scallon, Mr. Horton, Ms. Lightbourne, Dr. Hale, Patrick. All right, this meeting's adjourned.